This is Mary Jo Dion, and you're listening to the West Coast tapes of the Julian Dion Podcast Comedy Hour. Shit.
Hey, everyone. This is Sean Proudlove, and you are listening to the Julian Dion Comedy Hour. Oh, fuck.
Hello, this is Jason Lamb, and you are listening to the West Coast. Sorry, Julian. Okay.
This is Aaron McGue, and you're listening to the Julian Dion... let me try that again. Julian Dion Comedy Hour Podcast.
This is Alex Big Dick Wood, and you're listening to the Julian Dion Comedy Hour.
Was that right? I got that wrong. What was it?
The Julian Dion Comedy Hour Podcast.
You know, this would be so much better if you were high. If you were high. If you were high.
Is up. Can you hear me? Is this on? It is on. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 25 of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour podcast. That's right, and a good one. I say this all the time, but they're good. They're all good. This one especially, my good buddy Eddie Della, Siepe, comic, actor. Now makes his home in Los Angeles, originally from Toronto, and we go way back. I met Eddie back in the day when I was starting out in Moncton. He knows financial planner, short hair, suit and tie Julian. He knows that guy. He remembers that guy. We did some touring back then, and we've been friends ever since. Friends? I struggle with words on this podcast. Hey, thank you for listening, by the way. Always, I appreciate it. Without you, this and I are nothing, okay? And Merry Christmas, everybody. It's coming. It's that time of year. I'm excited. I get into it every year. Early. I watch it on the TV. I watch the music channels. That's what I do. I get into it. I love it. Oh, Christmas music and the lights and the snow. Oh, it snowed in Toronto yesterday. Storm, and man, the city. This is the thing, when you're not from Toronto, people joke about how, Toronto got some snow, better call in the army. Everything shuts down. It doesn't shut down. That's why they need the army, so people can get places. We need the army because it's chaos out there, because nothing shuts down. That's the thing. The whole city doesn't shut down. It's the opposite. Being from small town in New Brunswick, Moncton, Skiduk, actually. You know, when there's a snowstorm out east, everything shuts down because people have to drive places. So the only people on the road are the plows, and you take care of it. Easy. But now, put that amount of snow in Toronto where most people don't drive. I mean, there's a lot of drivers, but a lot of public transit and walking distance. Nothing really shuts down. So it's just a mess of humanity with snow. Gross snow. It turns gross fast, but people, they don't even plow it right away. It's like there's 3 feet of snow on King Street, downtown Toronto, and the streetcars just plowing through. So nothing shuts down. So you just got to keep going about your business, but just in a mess. A gray, beige, gross mess. Snow in the city is so different from snow in the country. Like, it's so grosser, I guess. Country snow is so, like, pure and white. You can eat country snow. No problem. You eat city snow, you will get some. You will most likely die. I mean, definitely if you're elderly or a child. If it touches your exposed skin, you'll get some sort of disease. It's disgusting. It's gray and full of city juice. It's like a city juice snow cone. Speaking of city juice, let's get to my guest today. Like I said off the top, we go back. He's from Toronto, now makes his home in Los Angeles. He's a very successful comic, and I enjoyed catching up with him. Anyway, enjoy. So now I don't know why these transitions are so always awkward for me. When I go from the monologue to guest, I'm like, here is guest. Enjoy guest. Always. Anyway, I'm going to try to do it different. I'm going to try, speaking of city juice, let's go to my home slizzle, Eddie Della. How I had a good chat. Even when I'm trying to make it different, it still sounds the same. All right. What if I start playing the jingle a little bit now, just so we can get out of it? Yeah, thank you.
Just like the flowers, laughing all day long. People, I need you loose. Sing a little song, then take a shower. Julian Dion Comedy Hour.
This episode of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour, that's episode 25 with Mr. Eddie Della, is brought to you once again by Echo One Photography. Showing some love, Echo One Photography. Toronto listeners, this one's for you if you're a comedian, musician, actor, person, anybody, human. Are you human? Yeah, you are. Well, or even the cats that are listening to this. If you need to get some headshots done, look no further. Go to Echo One Photography. They're amazing at what they do. Eugene over there. Also, if you own a business and looking to get some product photography done for e-commerce or advertising purposes, look no further. Echo One does that too. Yeah, you don't say. I do say. Email Eugene at echo1photography.com. That's EUGENE at echo1photography.com and enter JDCH in the subject line for special offers. Do it today.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because of my dad. Maybe I'm socially awkward because of my dad. I'll tell you guys a story. My dad, my mom's Hispanic, my dad's Italian. My dad, old school European kind of guy. Doesn't believe in recreational sports, thinks it's a waste of time. He'd always look at me and be like, hey, if you're not making money, why are you doing it? I'm like, I'm 11, I'm allowed to have fun. Like, what? So I asked my dad to take me to my first Little League game, take me to baseball. And he reluctantly takes me to baseball. Doesn't understand the sport, but he takes me anyway. And he's watching me play with the rest of the dads. They got like a jersey on, they got a hat, holding a camera, watching their kid play. My dad, swear to God, he's got like a wife beater, shorts and dress shoes, smoking a cigarette. Everyone's like, did someone bring their bookie to this Little League game? Is he betting on this? This guy's got a problem. So my dad's watching me play, smoking a cigarette, doesn't understand the sport, but for me, it's the biggest day of my life, my first at bat, right? Square up, grab my bat, look at the pitcher, I'm nervous as hell. First pitch goes by me, strike one, I'm like, oh man. Second pitch goes by me, strike two. I take a breather, I look up, I see my dad watching me. Third pitch, I swing, I miss, strike three. I'm defeated, I need a pep talk. My head's hanging down low and I look up and I swear to God, I see my immigrant dad and his wife beater running down the hill. He grabs the fence and goes, Eddie, come here. I go, yeah, Dad. He goes, can I go? But I know it's okay because the story came full circle. My dad, Tony Del Siepe, is here tonight for my TV taping, and he's right here in this audience. Dad, give me a round of applause. Dad, stand up. Okay, I gotta go. You guys have been great.
You're back now at the Jack Off Hour. This is DJ Easy Dick.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember.
Okay, that, of course, is my guest today who sits across from me in Lemon Press Studios. He's a dear friend. He's a gentle, kind sir. Successful comedian. He's notably, you'll recognize him, his voice, maybe, from Much Music's Video on Trial. For a lot of episodes, a lot of years, huh? How many?
I was on for 5.
5 years. Also, Love Court.
That was short-lived.
Short-lived on Much Music as well. Canadian Comedy Network.
Canadian Comedy Network? That is
Comedy
right.
Now special on the Comedy Network.
Comedy Now, yeah.
Half hour?
I did a half hour, yeah.
Half hour. What else can I say about this guy? Oh, Just for Laughs. JFL.
Just for Laughs,
He's been there. He's, like I said, successful. You started touring earlier, like your own tours, themed tours.
Yeah, I did like a
Jury
couple.
duty.
Yeah.
And anyway, he's here now. Eddie Della, now making his home in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
How are you, buddy?
Good, man. How you doing, dude?
Good, man. It's good to see you.
You too.
You look good.
Thanks, man. I'm enjoying Tim Hortons.
You look fit.
Thank you.
Nice muffin.
A nice muffin.
I like your strategy.
They don't
tearing it apart.
In LA, they don't. You can't get the idea of walking somewhere to get a coffee. Like, you know what I mean? Like just walking around.
Right.
It doesn't exist to me.
You have to drive.
You have to drive there.
An hour and a half in heavy traffic.
Well, like you have to drive, park, get it, come out, get in your car, and go back to where you wanted to go. It's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a Toronto thing because you see so many Starbucks everywhere. It's actually really comforting knowing that you can get a coffee at any moment. But
welcome back, Eddie.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you back.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for doing the pod. I haven't seen you in a while. I think last time was at Say What? Briefly.
Last time was at your room, which I love. I love that space.
Thanks. We're actually moving it.
Oh, good. I hate it. Sorry.
To the Painted Lady.
Where's that?
It's Ossington and Dundas West.
Love that area.
Great area.
When's the next show?
Great bar. That starts up in February.
Oh.
We're finishing up the year at Say What? Which is the 2-year anniversary next show, actually, the 17th, which you can't do. You're busy. I asked you to, but
I might be able to swing by and say hi.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hey.
Eddie Della. Hi.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Let's get into it. Let's tell the people. Let's talk Eddie. You're from Toronto.
From Toronto, born and raised.
Born and raised.
I'm one of the few guys, comics, born and raised in TO.
Yeah.
You don't really see that.
Well, you kind of have that hustle about you, like.
Really?
Yeah. I think starting in Toronto, you kind of have to, because I mean, you started getting things early.
No, I think I'm a late bloomer, to be honest with you. I think. Well, you know what? I started comedy when I was 19 in TO. My first set, I was 17, and I went horribly and didn't go back for 2 years. Which is like kind of the thing we were talking to before we started taping about like procrastinating and
yeah.
And I think you need that moment of procrastination to fuel you to never go back to it.
Right.
You need to feel like you need to know what it feels like to do nothing for 2 years and hate it.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, I can't be that guy again. I can't be either out of shape or like complacent or you know what I mean. So I had that. I was very lucky to have that at a very early age. Some people get it and never get out of it. Some people, are fortunate enough never to have it. And then started doing open mics, and I met you in New Brunswick.
Yeah, how many years in were like, how old are you now?
I'm 33.
33.
We're the same age. Are we the same age?
31.
31.
Yeah, 83.
I remember you with a suit.
Yeah.
And
every
time you're on stage, it looked like you're about to address some shareholders.
Yeah, right. Which I probably had at some point that week.
I was there. I was around for like your second set, I think.
Possibly. I mean, those, when you talk suit days, that's like early on. Yeah, we met like, you must have been a few years in, I guess. You were on video.
It was my first ever Eastern tour.
Right.
And first ever time I ever left Ontario to do stand-up.
Right.
And that's where I met you.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
That's when I dubbed you the great importer-exporter.
Didn't I met a girl in, where did I meet her? I think it was.
Are you talking about the one that let her self into my place?
Yeah. For the viewers who are listening, or listeners who are listening, I met a girl, and I had a gig outside of Moncton, and we're supposed to meet in Moncton, and I was arriving late or something, and then I was I staying at your place?
Yeah, you were staying at my place, so you gave her the address.
The address, and then you came home, and she was just reading a magazine on the couch, which is nice, I guess.
Well, you always had this thing where, like, no matter where you were, or where you had a gig, you'll be like, yeah, I'm in Mir Mashi tomorrow, and this girl is coming to see me. I'm like, oh, is she from there? You're like, no, she's flying in from Montreal. I met her on MSN Messenger or something.
I use everything I can. No, I was only. You know what's funny? When I'm in it, when I'm in a relationship, I'm in a relationship.
Yeah.
And when I'm not, I am definitely not in a. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm not like.
No, but you always seem to have at that point you had like always random girls staying at your place. Like
I had a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, this
I had
girl.
one
You're
girl-
like, oh, this girl from Calgary's coming for a few days, and then she would come and not leave the apartment for.
You
2
know, I'm
days.
all about hospitality. I'm kind of like a Super 8 motel.
Yeah.
I'll stay there, but I'm not gonna stay there for very long.
Right.
I feel weird. No, you know, you have I think there's a sense of romance when you meet someone on the road, and then you're like, oh, I'm leaving. Oh, but I want to hang out
Right,
more.
totally.
And they're like, well, I'm into you if you ever want to come by. And they're like, you know what? That sounds exciting. Sure. And that happens quite a bit. I have
But how is it? The interesting part is how the dynamic shift when then they're in your apartment for.
I still enjoy it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you're the great importer exporter.
If I'm in someone's company and she's staying in my place, I genuinely enjoy her company. It's not just a sexual thing. It's like, you know, I like hanging out or window shopping or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't ever feel like it's a one dimensional thing. Mm-hmm. It can't be, because if it's a one dimensional thing, you are like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. I think everyone's been in that scenario before. Like, you know, whether it's a girlfriend that you're not into anymore, let's go get away for a week, and like, oh man, this sucks. Or,
Do you think you feel like you have like a little pressure to like them more because there's usually airfare involved?
No, I don't know. I never really think about stuff like that. Even my career, I never really think about what is this going to happen? The implications of stuff. I just want to have a good time, I guess.
At what point did you get video on trial? That seemed to have happened pretty early on.
It happened kind of earlier on. They saw me at the Rivoli, and then my agent at the time submitted me for it, and I did 2 episodes 1 year. The next year I did like maybe 5, and then after that it started taking off, and then from 2009 to its ultimate end, 2013, I was doing like 30 a year, which helps because all you want to do is stay on television enough.
Totally. No, it's a great show for exposure. I mean, what's the difference between, like, because so many comics have done it, some just like for 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah.
How do you keep coming back?
You keep coming back, I think, by being a distinct either caricature or person.
Right.
Like, I was a sort of narcissistic pervert. Boomer was like this sort of like super jock, you know, and like Deborah was like that cat lady who's a little like, you know, a little kooky, you know what I mean? So everyone had their character,
right? Which
was an exaggeration of ourselves, and it separated you from everyone who's just saying stuff. And mind it being funny, but I think when you're the demographic being really young, they really take to someone who's like larger than life,
right,
or a version of something,
right? Well, no, it's been great for you. I mean, because then you were able to like brand coast to coast, like national tours from it.
The way I got on it, especially, I told this story once to my buddy Graham. I haven't really told anyone this story because I feared that it would make me look not desperate, but definitely pushing the envelope. We have a picture there too. I used to always go to the Queen and John Starbucks. I never lived around there. I had no purpose to be there. I could have went to Starbucks in my neighborhood at Yonge Davisville in Toronto. I could have went to Starbucks anywhere but there, which is such a densely populated area in terms of tourists and people shopping, and parking's horrible there, and to get there is fine, but rush hour is horrible. I made it my business to go there all the time with my buddy Brian Hatt. Sometimes I go by myself. And I did it purposely. And Brian would always go because he was living close by, and we always went for a coffee together. Purposely because all the producers from Much Music went there. And I stayed in their mind all the time, you know, and they'd be like, hey, Eddie, what's going on? And like, what's up? And like, how are things? Hey, man, you got to get me on the show. Yeah, for sure. Or someone would bail out. Are you free next Saturday? I'd always be there, to the point where producers called it my office. Are you going to be at the office tonight? Like, and I didn't mind, because they didn't know I didn't live around there. They knew I went there, but I stayed in their face, opposed to people who just waited for an email or, like
Right.
hope that the one booking would lead to more. I thought, well, maybe there's some way of doing it without having to pester anybody. So they'd walk in, they'd see me. It's not like I'm walking in to see them.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right? There's a big difference. If I happen to be hanging around somewhere they hang out with, that's fine. But I can't just go into Much Music and be like, hey, I just thought I'd say hi, like while we're working. But there's something casual about the coffee break, especially in an office situation. Small talk is perfect. That's perfect scenario. No one's being put in a scenario where we have to talk longer than 3 minutes.
Right.
So they walk in, grab a coffee. Hey, what are you doing here? Yada, yada. Oh, cool. What are you working on? Hey, man. Cool, man. We had a good shoot last time. Yeah, we got to get you on again. Cool. Bye. I did that for years, like 2 to 3 years. And it was a small step that I took in order to try to be on television.
And it worked.
It worked. And I used to be ashamed of that. I used to think that was a desperate move. I was like,
No,
oh, man.
no.
But you know what? I always felt like I had to work a little harder. I don't know why. Maybe someone could argue that stuff came easy to me, but I don't think they saw those moments.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that all counts.
That all
I mean,
counts.
it's all work.
You see a baseball player. I love sports, and everyone looks at a guy like, like a Joey Votto, a guy like that who's a Canadian too, and you see his swing, and you're like, man, it's effortless. Is it though? I mean, he's been working on that thing for his whole life. Times that you don't see, like the push-ups, the chin-ups, like the constant swings, and you only see a micro moment of it.
Right.
So I think we all forget about that, especially comics. You see Bill Burr. I saw Bill Burr's new special, and when I was young, I look at him and think, man, like I can't write like that. But neither can he really. If you think of it, he had to take 2 or 3 years to like figure that out.
For sure, yeah.
We only see the finished product. So
Yeah. With Video on Trial, you have a lot of young fans.
which are getting older. It's weird.
I was gonna ask, like, have you seen, like, have people been following you? Are you noticing, like, you're following?
I've noticed. Still to this day, I get recognized.
Yeah.
I go on Tinder and I still get recognized, which is pretty funny. I get 2 questions like, hey, aren't you that guy, and why are you here? Which are both good questions. I still get recognized from it. Not Eddie. I usually get, hey, aren't you that guy from that thing, sort of thing. But they're getting older, which is good, because I'm getting older, and it's kind of sad when an older guy is trying to appeal to younger people, in terms of their comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about anything that's super like mature. Like I'm not talking about like being a homeowner or being married. I'm still like a silly guy on stage. It's just it's less rooted in like what's up with drinking or this or
right.
You know what I mean? Which is old material I drop, but I only do on the road if I really need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your career, your trajectory.
Okay.
Because you started touring pretty early on, like we talked about. You had the show, which helped. At what point did like things like Comedy Now happen and Just for Laughs?
Comedy Now happened 2009, but I'm gonna tell you something. Like in all honesty, that was a product of persistence and having the right rep and like being in the right moment and having the right half hour. I feel, but my career really didn't take off until in Canada, or start doing really well until maybe 2012. And I don't mean career in terms of monetary stuff or like, I mean just material. My material changed. I was dating this girl, and she'll remain nameless, but very like negative, super negative.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
Yeah, and the kind of person that would like wake up in the morning and be like, "Fuck," I go, "What?" Like, "Nothing." I'm like, "What's wrong?" Like, "I'm going to work. Don't worry. Go back to bed. Don't worry about it." Like there is slight resentment there that I'm like, I can sleep in a bit, and that she's got to slug it and worry about forecasts and the next fiscal year and all that crap, because she had a big job that relied heavily on like numbers. So it started bleeding into me, and then I spent time with her during the week, and I would only do yuck gigs on the weekend, so which means you're only appealing to like small towns. Nothing against small towns at all, but you know, everything you want from comedy is going to be from you being seen in the city. You know, whether it's producers or, you know, industry people or festivals, they see you in the city. And I just wasn't like, I didn't like doing road stuff. You know, I was starting like talking about, you know, I was never a guy talking about sex, but a lot of it was just like simple stuff.
I feel I feel the same way about
You know,
road
so
gigs,
something about, it's a job within an art, which is odd.
Yeah.
But I think,
you feel those nights when you have to work and it's just...
Yeah, and you're like, am I dumbing down? This is not what I want to do, but the money's okay, I guess. And so I was only working for the weekends and the odd yuck spot here and there at downtown Toronto Yuck Yucks. But I was not doing indie rooms at all. No alternative venue stuff. And then we broke up and I had like maybe two friends. The rest were kind of like true friends. Because I was just attached to this girl all the time. And then we broke up, and then I was out of necessity. I started going to smaller venues, kind of like, you know, like your show kind of type of things. And then I started noticing that my act was not for people who weren't celebrating a birthday party or like a bachelorette party or like just here to like get drunk with their buddies. There were like people who wanted to see comedy in an underground form. And I started writing for that, and everything changed. I started enjoying my act more almost immediately. I started writing jokes for people that I wanted to entertain. Not that I don't like people in small towns, but like this is where I live. This is my home. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I started getting the festivals and tapings and, you know, more recognition stand-up wise, and it felt really nice. So there's definitely a paradigm shift. And it happened 10 years into stand-up, which is odd.
Yeah.
You know? And you think about it like, man, what if I just started doing that earlier?
Right. And did you notice any difference, like taking that act that you built in the city to small towns? Because obviously it's something you still do on
It doesn't
occasion.
go as well, but I mind less.
Right. You're more like satisfied after.
I'm more satisfied saying what I want to say with less reaction than saying what I don't want to say for more reaction.
Right.
There's a trade-off. And when you're young, you're starting out, you're like, oh, I want to get laughs. And you think less about what you're saying. When you get older, you think more about what you're saying, care less about laughs.
Right.
Which is great because you don't feel imprisoned or shackled by an audience.
Right.
Like I live and die. My happiness lives and die by if you guys are enjoying it. Now we're entertainers, we're supposed to enjoy it. But hey, I mean, I'm just gonna do my thing. You know, like music, you do your thing, and some people will turn away, go to the bar. Some people will bob their heads and love it. Some people will dance. You can't expect them all to be jumping and cheering.
Right.
If you really are true to what you like to do. So, and now in Los Angeles, all I do is alternative venue stuff.
Right.
And clubs to me are not something I appeal to. There's a huge paradigm shift going on in Los Angeles, and I see it in Toronto too. Where, for instance, I'll give you a scenario. There's a Laugh Factory. There's the Comedy Store, and the Improv is kind of a mixture of like both indie stuff and club stuff. It's a great show room, but you look at the Comedy Store, it's like full of tourists and like people from Idaho being like, where do we go? Sunset, maybe we'll see celebrities. And they go to like the Comedy Store, you know, and they're there to see whoever. And then there's a Laugh Factory, which showcases people on television. I get it, you know, this is Hollywood, right? But then the best shows to me are shows that are not even in comedy clubs, and they're great. No one's there for a bachelorette party or there to hopefully see Tim Allen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're there to see funny people that they don't know. And agents go there, agents, assistants, and managers go, and I love those shows.
Right.
And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, oh, if I'm not in a comedy club, I mean, am I even in comedy anymore?
Yeah. I remember I actually have noticed the shift, that paradigm shift you went through, because I remember back in the day asking you about Toronto rooms.
Yeah.
And you were like, there's two good ones, the Riv and Spirits. That's it. And just the rest are clubs. And then now, I mean, the last few years, you go out to any alt room or indie room and you're there usually. Like,
yeah. And I'm there and I'm enjoying it. And it's not even about if there's a big, see that, what I told you back then, and it's true because of what I was thinking, what I was seeing. And it is true. Those are great, great shows. But I was talking from a perspective of what do you want out of it? A great reaction? Now for me, it's not even about a great reaction. It's about getting a crowd that's similar to who you are and working stuff out. And it's not about people come up to me being like, "Oh my god, you're the best," or "You're awesome," which is something that fueled me earlier on, and a lot of comics too. And some guys never stop having that. And now, there could be 10 people. As long as half of them are having a good time, I don't care. I'm working on stuff for other shows.
Right.
But I love alternative stuff, alternative venue stuff. And I've always felt like I was a smarter guy. I didn't want to be lowbrow, but I felt like out of necessity you became that because, if you want to make money in Ontario, you have to leave Toronto, get in your car and go somewhere else.
Well, yeah, and there's that, and you have to, get your stage legs and confidence to then make that shift. I mean, to start right out of the gate and do what you're doing now is,
very difficult.
Yeah, so you have to do whatever it takes to get at least remotely comfortable up there, and then.
Yeah. And I still use that old stuff. I still use some old stuff on the road. I did a corporate gig recently. I paid really well, and
dust off the old stuff.
Dust off the old stuff. And then it's okay. And
you look like a guy that says timber when you take a shit.
I did do that.
Yeah.
Fuck, you remember that?
I don't know why I remember that.
I live like two lives. I live a road life, or like if I need to go on the road, I'll dust those things off. And then there's me, there's a Toronto comic. If you were to watch me in both scenarios, you'd be like, it's the same guy, but it's a very different feel.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. I think it would be nice to like.
Well, you have to adapt. You have to do whatever it takes to pay the bills. You got to make that paper, Eddie. Hi.
But we haven't worked together in a long time.
It's been a long time. I don't even remember.
Have we been on the road before? I don't think so.
Out east?
Maybe.
I don't know.
When's the last time you were out there?
I was there this year. April, I think, something like that. I don't know.
I haven't been there in a while. Fuck. I don't know. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah, it's great.
And in Halifax, I feel that the shows are fun. It's
always good there.
Always good. It's the perfect combination of people who like to party and people who are smart.
Yeah.
Because it's a college university town and it's also a good drinking town.
Mm-hmm.
And they meet in the middle somewhere. So you get people who aren't stupid, but they also give it up.
Right. Man, back then when I met you, there were so many gigs out there. Remember, we did a Delta in Fredericton where you stood in the staircase to it was a Delta, and there was a restaurant, and there was like two steps and like a railing, and you stood like on top of the steps of like a dining room, another like a higher level of the dining room.
I think there's a picture of me and you at that show.
Yeah.
There was one in Nakawik,
where
there's like a huge axe.
It was.
That's their monument or something.
Right. The world's largest axe. Peter White had great material on that axe. He's like, you have the world's largest axe. Like, you could have built like a regular axe, but like 3 feet bigger. You didn't have to go that big. Like with that money, you could have probably built the Tim Hortons. Like there's no Tim Hortons there.
Yeah, I know. I was in Bathurst, New Brunswick too.
Yeah. Miramichi at Dooley's there.
Oh yeah. Man.
There was a Sydney gig, Member 2, which was a big convention center. That was a great one.
I did a college up there.
There was Wolftown or
Wolfville.
I
think is that a show?
Yeah, that sounds like
Wolftown. It's about like male cougars kind of thing. So male cougars called a wolf.
There was New Glasgow. There was so much back then.
Yeah. It's kind of like this untapped market, but it's also kind of a market you're not sure if it's there anymore. I don't know. I don't know if there's money there anymore.
It just sort of died off.
I will say this. I love Halifax.
Yeah.
I spent like 3 weeks there last year, and it was great.
It's a good town, Haligonia. It's a good party town.
It's a good party town.
It's a good everything town.
It's a good party.
Food.
Great food. Great seafood. The best clam chowder I've ever had in my life was there, or seafood chowder, at the Weston Hotel. I lived in that Weston Hotel for like 3 weeks.
Great culture, like a music scene and everything. And
great music scene. In the city, you have tons of stages for music, but no comedy.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird city.
Everything is made for it. There's lighting, there's seating, there's like, a stage. And
stuff.
Stuff.
You're right. There's an untapped.
Maybe there's just not enough comedians. Probably. I found the women there beautiful and friendly.
You didn't have to import when you were there.
Didn't have to import anybody. Like, you can stay home.
Part of the local fare.
I think I'm gonna like it out here. Some women that I still talk to that are really cool, that are awesome, that I wish that I would see myself in a relationship with are out there for sure.
You still talk to them?
Occasionally, say hello, whatever.
just keeping that alive. Keep those options
Put
open.
a little, just keep that flame going.
Yeah.
Throw some lumber in later.
Come back
You
to
must
that
think
in
I'm
6
like
months.
the biggest ladies man. Do you? You probably think you do. Every guy in a relationship thinks I'm like that.
No, well,
Every guy in a relationship always looks at me like, "Oh man, you must be doing all this and all that."
well, I just know of stories. I mean, I don't know if you've tamed down over the years, but you used to have stories of like, yeah, I met this girl on MySpace, and like, I'm like, how?
This is not helping my case, but I know you'd appreciate this. And by no means am I making women like this sort of like, thing that I order that comes in. Like,
No, you told me one time
enjoy-
you respect them as what they are, and you come dumpsters.
they're a person that I tend to like that happens to be somewhere else, and then they come into town, whatever. And that doesn't
I think
mean
cum dumpster was the word you used.
Okay, you know what? I never said come. I like dating. It's fun, Sometimes it gets a little repetitive though. Like constantly having to like lie,
So tell me the thing.
You didn't catch that?
Hmm?
You didn't catch what I said?
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, okay, good. It's like it gets kind of repetitive, constantly having to lie, I
Keep track of
Ooh, my lies.
Yeah. You have a book. A notebook.
There's a woman that I'm very fond of that I met in Toronto that lives in Austria.
Oh yeah.
Who's flying in from Austria to Los Angeles to stay with me for 2 weeks.
And the title remains.
And the title sustains.
The great,
the great importer exporter.
exporter.
Whoever's reading this must either hate me or think, "Wow, cool."
And if they are reading this, please forward a copy. To Jay,
Sorry, we're listening to this.
The pod at jdcomedyhour.com because I would love to see a transcript. And congrats on you for taking the effort to typing this out.
Yeah.
So you're in LA now. You've been there for what, 6 months, something like that? Because you got a green card a while ago.
I got a green card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is a big deal for listeners not understanding anything on the logistics side of comedy.
It's
doing
a
comedy
big deal.
Internationally, it's a big deal. A
Big
visa is
deal.
a big deal. A green card is like
when I'm in Los Angeles and a girl is from Australia, England, Canada, anywhere other than America, and I tell them I have a green card, it's like I showed a materialistic girl that I own a Porsche.
yeah.
Like, wow, cool. Can I touch that?
It's a big deal.
Can I see it?
Can I be inside of it?
Can I be inside your green card? Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Like, I feel like I'm one of me and just a couple guys have been to LA recently.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Darren Rose, and maybe a Will Weldon years ago. But he went down with his wife, and then before that, I mean, I don't know, like John Doerr. Like, Canada's awesome. I love Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Canada's great, but I can feel, and it's not. That doesn't mean it's not for everybody. It's not for me anymore. I love Canada, but I feel like I wanted. You know me. I'm constantly hustling, and when I feel like, well, I want to go somewhere where I can hustle more and grab stuff and get more stuff. That's why I went down. And green card's tough, man. The process is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
America does not make it easy, and nor should they. I mean, it's already overpopulated as it is. It cost me about $10,000. My application was 280 pages.
That's crazy.
It's nuts. I mean, my lawyer compiled most of it, but for most part, it was like me collecting data and like letters, awards, press, all these things. And, you have to get like a long form birth certificate. You have to get like an RCMP letter saying that you're not a criminal. You have to like get a tuberculosis scan, measles, mumps, rubella shots, blood work, everything, because America will not let you in if you have any diseases. Like if you have like hepatitis, you can't come in,
Right.
which is crazy, but whatever. But and then you go to the consulate in Montreal, and it's crazy, dude. Like if you are from Vancouver or you're from St. John's, Newfoundland, you have to go to Montreal. You fly there, or drive. You rent a hotel. You go to your meeting. Like you can't. There's no consulate. Only there. And I met with this consulate officer. He questioned me, and then they had to emigrate. Huge process, but it's good for 10 years, and I could do everything but vote. And I could apply for citizenship after 5, which I don't think I'll do. Just out of
No,
principle.
why not?
Out of principle, I don't know. You know what's funny? I became more patriotic the moment I was there.
I get that. I felt the same way.
You
Yeah.
feel the same way. You felt like not only am I not American, I have to make sure I make people at home proud. I felt obligated, more obligated to do well, because you're first known as that guy from Canada sort of thing. I never really got that down there because people just assumed I was from New York or New Jersey, Massachusetts, somewhere on the East Coast. I had a vibe to me that they said was very East Coasty, which is true. Toronto is kind of like a version of that. But when they found out I was Canadian, like, oh man, like it's almost exotic to them, especially Los Angeles. New York for you, it's close. People have probably been up there, know people up there. But LA is as far as you can be from Toronto within America.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's out there.
It's up, and not even Vancouver they go to, and they know nothing, dude. Nothing. Like, I mean, so you can imagine what it'd be like to go on a date and explain who you are, where you're from, And sometimes I get a lot of like, I can't believe you're from up there, because their concept of up there is this sort of dated version, or like the one Canadian they met, But by no means am I looked weird about it. I always language to me is something that is a differential for sure. Like certain things, like I always quote your story about you in New York at a diner, and you asked for some cutlery,
right?
And the woman like, cutlery? What are you, from Buckingham Palace?
Yeah.
Which I think is so funny.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to catch myself not saying Canadian stuff anymore.
Yeah, you pick up on it right away.
Right away. Like
a boot is such a thing.
It is. And you'd only hear it, and as every person in Canada who's listening to this thinks that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's live there and then come up here and watch the news, and you'll be like, wow.
It looks like a sketch.
It looks like a sketch.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing when you criticize like Nick Kroll or like any who did like a Degrassi sketch, or like they make fun of Canada, and you're like, that's ridiculous. But that's what they see.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it until I was down there. Like, oh man, they're not like making this huge caricature. They're just exaggerating a bit.
A little bit.
It's pretty crazy.
You don't realize it, like, and for me, the show that did it when I was watching it was Dragon's Den, and Arlene Dickinson that's on there. I'm like, is this a sketch? Like, am I watching like this hour has 22 minutes?
Exactly, dude.
She was like, no, I'm going to be out, but I don't understand what this is about. But I'm like, holy shit. Like,
I know.
It's crazy.
I know. And you know what? People will look at me dead in the eye and be like, you're crazy. There's no way we speak any different from them. Maybe the odd word. I'm like, it's how can't you speak different?
I know.
We're from a different part of the continent. We have more of an English influence. We have, and I was very fortunate. And this is my theory on language. For me, I never sounded very Canadian, I felt. There are some words that I would say possibly, but for the most part, I always sounded very American. I was very aware of that because I've always had my eye on Los Angeles, on America and stuff. So, but I think for me, I grew up with an Italian dad and a Hispanic mom, and they spoke to me in broken English from both languages, right? I know a little Spanish, I know a little Italian, but they never spoke to me in a Canadian accent. I learned English from American television,
From TV, yeah.
Fresh Prince, or like whatever, Saved by the Bell, whatever shows were going on at the time. That's where I learned English. I never watched Canadian television growing up.
It's the same for me because I'm French, and but to compare to like Southeast New Brunswick French or English compared to like Quebecers speaking English, they have huge accents and stuff like that. And I mean, you do in New Brunswick too, but ultimately it's because we're influenced by American media, like TV and pop culture. It's all, whereas places like Quebec, their media is all French. Like listen to French music and watch French TV. Like I never watched anything in French or anything.
So as a result, when you go to Quebec, you speak French, but they must notice you're not them.
Right, totally.
They must notice.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of someone from like Florida going to like maybe like Virginia. Like it's slight, but they can tell.
Yeah, you don't notice, like you said, until you're removed from it and you go back.
Yeah, man, like small words I noticed. Like I was at a diner with a friend and asked for brown toast. He's like, brown?
Right.
Like, why do you call it brown toast? Just say wheat toast. I was like, okay. I've catch myself. I caught my friend, a friend of mine at the comedy bar last night caught me when I was like, he's like, what time, when do you leave? I go, I leave Toronto on January 1st. He goes, oh man, you say it like that now, huh? Like you say it like that now, eh? I'm like what? Toronto. I go, oh yeah, it's Toronto.
Yeah, it's Toronto, but it's Toronto.
Yeah, like I say Toronto.
Toronto.
Because Americans say Colorado. They say every and syllable and like small stuff I get caught on that I learned and I'm aware of and I catch myself, which is hard to catch yourself linguistically because you do it so naturally, you're in the flow of things. But now I have like this microsecond where I like don't say it like that, and I say how they say it, like
process. Project.
We say pro. We Canadians say pro.
Yeah.
Americans say pro. Here's one. Here's a very Canadian sentence. In grade 9, I used a lot of pencil crayons, which is like you say that sentence to an American, they look at you like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's in the 9th grade.
In the 9th grade, I use a lot of colored pencils, and small stuff like that. Which, come on, like, do you really? But to them, they notice so much. And if they said that up here, we'd be like, oh, that's a little different, but whatever, But I used to be very aware of that when I went down there. And it was hard for me to write material because you don't feel like to write material for an audience, you have to feel like you are them, like to a degree. Like, go on the road, I'm not these people, but you find that commonality. We're all Canadian. We're all like, I know what it's like to be here. I don't know what it's like to live here, but I know people from small towns, whatever. Like, but I was there. I was like, oh man, I'm not one of you people. Am I gonna get seeked out? Are you gonna be, hey, where are you from? Like, are there people that will turn off because I'm not one of them?
Right.
You have all these sort of like running thoughts in your head, like, are they my sensibilities funny to them? What? And as soon as you assimilate and you're there, and then I said, okay, and I start writing material that works in America, that now my career is taking another leap forward, which is now I'm writing for North America. Whereas before I felt like, oh, will they get this stuff? And now I know. And I'm writing new stuff that I'm really enjoying. I did the Rivoli last night, and it's a lot of fun. And I don't think of myself as this outsider. Now I feel like I'm someone who lives in Los Angeles. I'm as much a Los Angeline as I am someone from Minnesota or North Dakota.
Right.
What's the difference really to these people? I'm just a little different, but I speak English and I watch American television, right? And if you find that commonality, it's fine. But I'm having a lot of fun down there, dude. It's nice. Weather's great.
And what sort of so what's happening with you down there? You're doing a lot of stand-up?
A lot of stand-up right now.
What's the plan?
The plan for me is, eventually get late night, eventually try to like get into Comedy Central in terms of like showcasing my stand-up. And then I want to start going out for television and film and try. I mean, the ultimate goal would be have like a Netflix special and, be on television, whether it's like a cable network or whatever, and have people say, oh, I love you on that thing, or I love you in that special, and have both those fans crisscross in terms of what they like, I look at a guy like Aziz Ansari, obviously, like that's the dream career, or like any other American that I'm like, man, that's the way I want to do it. And the beautiful thing about Los Angeles is it's there. I work with these guys. I've done shows with these guys that I used to come up here and be like, man, it'd be cool to like be that. And then you start the mystique, the smoke clears and you're like, oh, we're on the same show. We both look for parking the same way here. He's just been here longer. He's talented, or she's talented. But the difference is that they've given people in America more opportunities to see them, whereas I'm fresh and new. And you ask yourself questions like, what if I was here for 10 years? What would my career be like? You ask yourself that, but it's unfair. All you can do is you take your skill level and try to work it as much as you can. But you see that, man, he's a funny guy on a show. And I'm that guy too. I'm just not as known. So I get guys that when I was up here, like, man, that guy's so funny. He's got a Conan and like a Ferguson special, and he's respected and he's on all these cool podcasts, whether it's like Mark Maron's or like Pete Holmes or whatever. And then I go down there and we're on the same show and he comes up to me. He's like, hey, dude, you're really, really funny, man. And he knows who I am. like, oh, yeah, we're contemporaries, kind of, I just, I'm new. And that, some people never lose, the time span between when you get there and when that sort of mystique wears off is when you start really being funny because you start getting less intimidated by who you're following, who you're on the show with, who might be out there. And everyone in that audience, whether you're an industry person or someone in the audience, wants to like someone that doesn't need to be there. Mm-hmm. That's just like having a good time. Not that feels like, oh, I need to impress everybody. And it's hard not to feel that way your first year, 2 years, maybe 3 years in Los Angeles. But I'm slowly, because of doing it for so long, 13 years, where I'm almost like, I hit that point where I was like, nah, I don't care. I'm having way more fun on stage now. Mm-hmm. So it's been good, man. I mean, I like being there. I can see the frustration in being there.
Right.
Los Angeles is like, the movie Dark Knight Rises, right, with Bane, that one?
Yep.
Remember the jail that Bruce Wayne went to? Mm-hmm. Where it's like there was no bars. It was just you're underground and there's this tunnel and there's that rope to get up. And like your freedom's right there. That's what Los Angeles is like. Your dreams are right there. Right beyond that wall in Paramount Studios. All of them are there. To get in there is almost impossible. Mm-hmm. To be that close to it and to not get it must be, and if you're weak, and you're not weak, I don't want to use the word weak, but if you're definitely someone who takes things to heart or is not persistent or feels like they have to have something by a certain age or like, doesn't, is self-doubting, it can be so fucking painful.
Totally. It's the rejection at the like purest, most crazy form.
Yeah, to be so close. At least up here, you feel like you're looking at the moon, like, whatever, it's up there. I'd like to go there, but it's almost... But when you're close and you're like, man, I'm almost there. I'm working with the guys that are on there. I used to do open mics with the guy that's doing what I want to do.
Right.
It's right there.
Are you finding like, because you've been, how many months now?
Have I lived there? I lived there. I moved there January 6th.
January 6th.
So it's going to be my first year.
And are you finding that, or are you past the stage where you want to do well on every show, so you kind of do your showcase set instead of writing? Because you kind of, when you move to a new city, you kind of fall into that trap and your writing sort of plateaus.
The first 6 months, yeah. First 6 months I was there, I felt like I was doing all old stuff.
Right.
And now I'm starting to write new stuff. What happens is you start separating what shows you need to do well on, what shows you don't. Doesn't matter. And in the beginning, every show matters, every show. And now enough guys see me, and all my friends now, it's funny, like all my friends down there who I love, great guys. And I live 2 different lives, dude. Like, it's pretty crazy to me. I feel like I press a pause button and I play a different video game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's very odd that all my friends here know you, of you or you personally. Mm-hmm. I have a whole group of set of friends that know me personally that have no clue who you are, where you're from, what you do.
2 lives.
Nothing.
Yeah.
If I say Julian Dion to them, they're like, I don't know what that means, who you're talking about. And even within Canada, if I have friends in Vancouver, they still got an idea. Mm-hmm. No clue. None. So I have friends there that have been doing it for 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, because we do similar rooms, because... You have if you're funny without a credit, without a certain level of like credits, you're doing a certain types of rooms with the odd great room here and there. Then you get into that stage where like you have great credits, no one really knows you. Then you do pretty good rooms, the odd club here and there. With the odd time, you're going down to like shows that aren't that good. And then you have superstars that just drop in anywhere they want. I'm in the bottom tier row, but I'm on the high end of the bottom tier row, where like, no one knows him, but he's great. Mm-hmm. Because everyone in that level is 5 years in, 4 years in, 6 years in, 3 years in. And I'm up there with 13 years experience, but we're roughly around the same age, because some guys start later. Some guys I look young. So I get a lot of guys who are like, wow, you're 33, So I'm standing out, but they have no clue about about my other life here. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy, dude? Sometimes I feel like I get on a plane, I close my eyes, I wake up in Canada, and I'm like, did I leave here? It's like Quantum Leap or something, you know?
Right.
Where it's just like, why? People know me here. They should. 13 years, like stand-ups, the odd actor here and there in the business, and people come up to me at the streets the odd time, can I take a photo with you or whatever, or like, hey, I know you from somewhere. And then to cross a line and no clue it's trippy, man. Humbling too. I'm sure you had to do that too when you went to New York, or
totally.
Even guys from New York who go to LA, man, your ego is in your back pocket, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You check it right away. Like there's guys in New York that like do 15 shows a week, and they go to New York, they go to LA, and no one gives a fuck about you.
Right.
And you have great credits like a Conan, a Fallon, a half-hour special. But, fame's a currency down there.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was down there, it was like a Letterman credit. It's like, yeah, sure, okay.
Remember, you have to think in terms of our equivalent, like,
it's like
a JFL or like a Comedy Now or something. Not everyone's got one, but the guys that have one, it's a big pool. And we're like, yeah, we did that too. But yeah, like, it's pretty crazy, man. So I have these two different lives I live, and it's pretty trippy, sometimes. And now that I have friends moving down there, now they're going to start intermingling. It's going to be kind of weird.
Right.
It's going to be great, but it's going to be interesting. So,
how are you finding LA for like vanity stuff? Because I mean, you're a fit guy. You're obviously.
It's my kind of town.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I moved down there, all my friends thought I was meant for there, and I go, "What do you mean?" Well, number one, you work out a lot, and I love to work out, only because I think you gotta have something that gets the heart going, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's new jokes and hitting the bike or something, and. Some people it's like doing blows. Some people it's like rock climbing. I don't know what it is, Some guys love and don't admit cheating on their loved one. Get the heart race, I'm sure there's tons of guys like that. I'm very self-aware. I acknowledge that as a human being, having those endorphins is addictive. But how I get them, I don't want to be detrimental. You can't avoid what you're genetically like, but you can curve what it could be. So for me, it's like, I didn't ever feel like I was this guy who was super handcuffed to like these sort of like, oh, I have to be juicing, whatever. I'm just aware that, I think that with us, with men especially, our sense of mortality is almost nil at a young age. You drink, you do whatever. You don't eat pizza for breakfast. You don't give a fuck, right? You're gonna run through a wall. Only when a doctor tells you, then you realize your own mortality. Mike Wilmot, who I saw at the Comedy Bar, who's a phenomenal comedian. If no one knows who he is, you look him up. He's a Canadian legend. He lost 75 pounds. I go, why? Dude, you look great. But I didn't say great in a way where I didn't lie, but back in my mind, are you sick?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? When you can't tell if it's AIDS or Atkins? You know what I mean? Like, you look great. It's kind of one of those things. Like, you don't want to say that because it's a cancer. Oh, okay. But you look great for cancer.
Yeah. Still have so, right?
Yeah, you still look like you. But he was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes.
No way. I didn't know that.
So he cut out cigarettes, beer, and is trying to eat healthy. And my mind is like, I remember him coming up to me drinking a tea and eating a salad at the Yucks and be like, you think you're an idiot. Give me a hard time. But they always come back to what I'm doing. Always. Either I tell you or a doctor tells you. If you've been in a car with me on the road, I've at least made you feel guilty for your choices.
Right.
I had a friend come up to me recently, hey man, I only drink vodka waters thanks to you. I go, okay. I forgot. Like, I'm very preachy about that. And only because some people think, oh, you're like some sort of like, you just want to seem like empowered, like you have stuff over people. I generally don't. I love my friends. I generally love my friends. Like, I'm a big friends guy. You know that. If me and you are on the road together, we're buddies. I mean, we're buddies outside that too, obviously. But I'm a big friends guy. I would hate to get a message on Facebook saying, "Hey, dude, fucking, I got this," because I couldn't kick smoking. Mm-hmm. I lost my dad this year, dude.
Yeah.
To smoking, and my mom always would constantly say, your father's he's gonna die early, yada yada yada. And I think about that, and I think, man, if he just quit smoking, he would have his kids would have had him for 10 more years at least. I don't want to rob anybody of anything. I feel like I have a great sense of my own mortality, and LA is everyone's the vanity of it all. Everyone's super healthy for aesthetic reasons, obviously, but for me, it's longevity. I want to feel great. I want to feel great and look great when I'm 50. I look at a guy like Jeremy Piven. I'm like, man, this guy's probably doing yoga every day and avoiding carbs and eating right. Why? I don't want to mope around entertainment,
Yeah, and you feel so much better too. I mean, it's
man. I don't understand why. Why would you own a Porsche and not put the best gas in it? I don't get it. You know what I mean?
It's the second half of your life is determined by the quality of it is determined by what you put in your body the first half.
Yeah, big time.
And people never think of the first half.
No, we were just talking about you drinking lemon water, 2 liters of lemon water, which is something I don't hear too many people say. I was very surprised, which made me think maybe I should drink more lemon water. I only drink 2 liquids, water and green tea, and green tea for antioxidants and whatever, and it's good for your metabolism, whatever. But beer, man, I won't date a girl that drinks beer, dude. I won't. Out of principle. Cigarettes, no way. They don't have to be active, but they definitely have to not be stupid.
So hot smoking girl is all over you. She has a beer in her hand. You're like, can't do it.
I don't know, man. I don't. No, my mind starts to. I mean,
why? What's the logic there?
Maybe for a night, maybe I would. I couldn't date a woman like that.
That drinks beer?
No.
That's crazy.
And no offense against any woman out there who drinks beer.
What's the logic behind that? Because a lot of women drink beer.
I'm talking about someone that I would date as a girlfriend, not someone that I would hang out with or maybe even engage in relations with. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be too different for me to relate to.
Right at the beer. Everything else is in common. But she loves beer.
I haven't had a beer in 5 years. And here's my logic for beer. And there's going to be a lot of people listening to me that this guy's a fucking yuppie. Who is this guy? But hey, I'm me. I'm not going to change me. I'm not going to ever look at someone and be like, I'm not disgusted that they drink beer. It's just not for me. Dude, I mean, think of it. Look at me. Look how I am, right? I'm going to be drinking, I'll have a water or soda or I don't need to be drunk. I like it the odd time. But for me to take a vacation from myself constantly, I have fun without it. I know it sounds so Christian and crazy. I'm not religious at all. But last night, 2 nights ago after the Rivoli, which is a great show in Toronto, you should go. I'll be there December 22nd. Everyone was drinking, getting drunk, and I was having a great time. I was laughing, having fun. I generally enjoy my friends' company. I don't need it to be enhanced in any way. I'm very in tune with myself that way. And for me, the idea that, let's say I'm with a girl and she's drinking 2 pints of beer. You know how much a pint is? That's a lot of liquid. That's
$8. Oh, liquid was.
Yeah. I look at it in terms of volume. All that swishing around in your body.
Yeah, you're overthinking it. Okay, who's an actress that you think is amazingly hot?
I don't know. Let's just say an Olivia Munn. I love Olivia Munn.
Okay, you're at a party.
Okay.
In Hollywood.
Okay.
Olivia Munn is in the room. You're holy shit. There she is. I talked about it on episode 25 of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour podcast. Olivia Munn is here.
Yeah.
In the flesh.
Yeah.
She comes up to you. She's like,
I know where this is going.
Eddie.
I know this is going already.
Eddie, I've seen you around at some rooms.
I drink the beer and act like I've always loved it. Is that what you want to hear? I mean, there's exceptions to the rule,
Okay.
obviously. But maybe I'm a very self-aware guy. Maybe subconsciously that's a way of.
But she's like, I drink 4 pints
That's
right before bed.
That's disgusting.
Every night.
Oh, you're disgusting.
Even Olivia Munn.
That's disgusting, dude. I'm a man of principle. I don't. And people out there will think he's crazy, but I don't know, man. I like who I am. I like what I believe in, and what I believe in doesn't hurt anybody. And maybe subconsciously, it's a filtration process to not be close to somebody.
That's why you export them. You find out they drink beer. You're like,
What is that? A Molson? Get out!
you already have
I don't,
tickets.
and I want to emphasize this is not me, and I do dislike any woman that drinks beer. I'm just saying it's just not my lifestyle. And in the inverse, let's just say you're a smoker and I'm not a smoker. I will not date a smoker, no doubt about it. I can't. And some people look at that and think that's way more acceptable. But for me, it's like, I don't know, what's the difference, you know? If you had a father that was an alcoholic, would you date someone that drinks? No. I'm not saying my dad was, but I don't know. I'm talking about someone who I'm going to have eventually live with or whatever. We have to be somewhat on the same page. And that's understandable, you know? Sometimes people, maybe it's not liquor that's a thing or smoking or taking care of yourself. Maybe it's just like moral value. Maybe it's someone who just doesn't, or religious stuff. Like for me, you could be Muslim and I could be an atheist. I don't care.
But if it's a Muslim drinking Molson,
Which is ridiculous.
Molson
A Muslim, I don't care. You can be 5'11", and I'm 5'7". I don't care. I was seeing a girl in Vancouver that's 5'11". You're 5'11". I don't care. Some people hold that like it's a law. I will not date someone who's taller than me or shorter than me, whatever. There's other variables I do not care about whatsoever. Political views, which is enough for some people. Anything. Certain things I gotta have. I'm like, I don't want someone who's a drinker like that. I don't know.
I hear you.
I'm definitely me. I haven't changed.
I was trying to think of another example, but Olivia Munn will do. You talked about losing your dad. Did anything change? Like you just don't give a fuck anymore? I hear that happens when that can happen when you lose a parent, or you just don't give a shit, which is a great ingredient that you need to become great at some point. Is you can't give a fuck what other people think of what you do, and that ultimately starts at your parents.
Right.
So did some of that happen?
My dad passed away March 17th of this year. I was in LA. I was on a beach with this cool girl I was kind of seeing. I was opening for Russell Peters, who's been phenomenal mentor. Not comedically. I mean, comedically, I respect it very much. So, I'm more in the alternative sort of venue places. He's more like he's a stadium comedian. But I look at the way he conducts himself, and I'm like, man. That guy, who wickedly funny, very smart, very quick, proud Canadian. That stuff is obviously impressive. But what really surprises me is his knack of remembering people. It's almost freakish. He meets you once, he knows who you are. First name, last name, and an instant where he met you. Colleagues especially, maybe not so much fans because it must be tough. You meet people all the time. But if there's a moment where he can remember you, it's in the bank, it's vaulted, it's there. Like an old library where they have those cards in those shelves, He just goes in, takes it out, and like, hey, Julian Dion, we met in Toronto, right? Yeah, your girlfriend's this. He knows. So I was opening for him and watching how he interacts with people, which is vital for me because I could not be in a more of a state of needing to meet people than I was when I got there. So even the way he shakes his hand with people, I mimicked. For instance, when I see people in LA or anywhere now, I'll always shake their hand and come in for a half hug like that. You never hate someone you don't like. You never hug someone you don't like. You never do. You shake someone's hand you don't like. You've done it all your life. You shake your boss's hand like, hey, buddy, like, fuck, I hate that guy. But you never go in like that with someone you don't like. and they remember that. And I did that with everyone I met in LA. And I became friends with a lot of people very quickly. I'm not saying it was a tactic to fool people, but it made me close to them for a nanosecond. Like, hey, this guy's all right. And I became more ingratiated in the scene there. That's a side note about Russell. So I get my dad was fighting cancer, lung cancer. And they found a dark spot in his lung just for laughs last year when I was there. I got the call. I was high on my taping, had a great time. It was the best set I've ever done. And then I get a call from my mom saying they gave him 6 months. And they're always wrong, but they're always within reason of doing of a certain timeline. And I remember crying at the Comedy Works. Like, fuck. Like knowing that I'd have to deal with this eventually, And then I left to go to LA in January, and he was in the hospital, and I said goodbye. I'm going to LA, and I feared that it was the last time I'd ever see him, and it was. It was very tough, and I almost felt like I said goodbye to him before he died, and I did, but like I meant, like, you know what I mean? Like, very tough, man, when I walked away. Very, very tough. And, you start thinking about lost time. Like me and my old man were never the closest, but, like, what can you do? Man, this guy lived a life that I don't even know about, dude. Like a life in Europe with no chance of any kind of like success. You had to cross an ocean, go, talk about being like in LA and being like, oh, they noticed I said, hey, imagine showing up in Canada, not knowing English, anybody, anything, nothing. Imagine going to China right now, starting a comedy career. What the fuck would you do? I'd find the first phone and get the hell out of there. I don't know how they did it, but I have that in me. I have that immigrant hustle in me, which is something I tell my friends in LA too. Like, you got a lot fast, right? They'll say like, oh man, you got on every show, and I post everything on Facebook so everyone knows, like, oh, this guy's doing well, because bookers are on Facebook. And like, I see your name a lot. I get that a lot too. But I have an immigrant hustle in me. I have immigrant blood in me. He passed away in March, and I was with Russell, and Russell paid for my flight home, dude. $3,000 direct flight, Air Canada. I found out at 1 a.m. LA time, 4 a.m. Toronto time. I was at LAX at 8 a.m. Woke up in Pearson at 1.
Wow.
I was on a beach 24 hours before that. I was like, what's going on? What the fuck just happened? And went to the funeral home, and first time I ever dealt with death like that. First family member to die. And you start thinking about stuff like, man, like, I should have reached out more. You start to romanticize about the relationship with your parent. You think, oh, but when you're in it, you don't see it.
Right.
You always kind of put them on this thing where, like, it was difficult. Like, regret is the hardest thing to live with, because you can't go back, you can't change anything. And I think about all those moments, like, he never saw me perform, It would have been nice for him to at least see, but I never invited him either. It's a two-way street, It's tough, man. It's tough. I re-grieve when I come back here. To grieve incrementally is torturous.
Oh, fuck.
My mom and dad, my mom and my brothers live in the house, and what I'm going through now, they went through 6 months ago. But I land, and I'm like, fuck, my dad. First thing I think of. Not that I don't think about him in LA, but nothing reminds me of my dad in LA. When I drive Santa Monica Boulevard, when I go down Sunset, when I go to anywhere, when I go buy groceries, nothing reminds me of my father. Nothing. The moment I land, I think about my dad. And that's tough, man. It really is tough. And I can only grieve incrementally like that. So it was tough, man. And then you think about your life and you think about, oh man, I should try harder and whatever. But, I'm lucky to have him at all. You got to think of that in that way. And if he wasn't tough on me and if he wasn't like hard to impress, almost impossible to impress. My mom would tell me stories how someone came up to him at the supermarket and said, "Hey, your son's really funny." He never told me, or, maybe he'd be watching TV with my mom and I pop up on Much Music. He would never say, "I saw you." Nothing, man. Nothing. But at the time, I was frustrated with him. Like, why don't you give it to me? But now I think back and I think I wouldn't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he wasn't that tough, then I would never work that hard. I work as hard as I can and stand up. I'm always thinking about new stuff to write. I'm always trying to find avenues to make money or to like maintain a certain status. And right now in LA, it's like I don't feel frustrated. I feel like, oh, sweet. I have all this room to try to hustle in to get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm at a show every night. Sometimes I'll go to a show just to meet one guy, shake his hand, say, "Hey, what's up? I'd love to do your show." And then I'll stick around for a second, leave. I'm willing to do within reason what it takes. Just like when I was that kid at Starbucks hoping to see a producer.
Right.
That doesn't change. The immigrant hustle doesn't change. But I wouldn't be that way if my dad wasn't almost impossible to impress. So you go through all this roller coaster, dude, of like, why didn't I try harder? Well, what? Now I'm like, what am I like? Looking at our relationship and hating it? It was what it was,
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of moments for me to realize that, and it makes me appreciate it. It makes me work harder because, again, your sense of mortality is. I don't fear death. I'm just aware of growing old. I don't want to feel it, and I watched a man wither away. I'd come home sometimes in Toronto and like he looked worse than the month I came, and I think, man, I'm doing the right thing for myself, and it's tough, man. It's tough, and now I have this sense of like I don't care more, which is great. I wish I had that without my dad dying, but it's good. It's a nice way of taking something tragic and trying to make it positive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And if anyone out there is losing a parent or like, is on the brink of feeling this way, it's tough. It's very, very tough, especially at 33.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose them at 15 or at a young age, it's like remembering getting a tooth pulled or something. You're like, oh, that was painful, but I don't remember it now. Being so self-aware now and being an adult and being aware of why you feel this way, how you feel this way, what this means, what that means, the ramifications of this, all these variables are in your head. It's I wish sometimes that, maybe I wasn't that self-aware and I just cried it out and dealt with it and just kept going, being ignorant. But I'm not that guy and I never will be. But yeah, man, it's a tough thing, and it's unfortunate we all have to deal with it. It's pretty surreal that I'm experiencing something that you're going to go through. Ideally, go through.
Right.
No parent wants to bury their children. You know what I mean? But man, it's making me a better person. I don't take anything for granted.
Did you have any urge to, when it happened, go on a bender? Because I know you don't drink really much or anything like that, but did the path of self-destruction ever tempt you?
No, and that's a commonality with a lot of people that go through a tragic moment. I ran away from it. I remember when my dad passed away, and Russell was like, "Why don't you just stay there and be with your mom and your brothers and I had a road trip. I had to go to Edmonton. Like my dad passed away, and then 2 weeks later, I'd go to Edmonton. And I told Russ, no, I want to come back the next morning. after the funeral. He's like, why? I didn't want to face it.
Yeah.
I think with me, I'm very self-aware. I'm not afraid to say this to people now. I used to be very shameful of it, but I'm cowardly that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never broken up with a girl, dude. Never.
What do? You just turn into an asshole so they do it?
I push them to do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Afraid of confrontation.
Afraid of it.
Yeah.
Afraid of not being liked. Maybe afraid of not being loved, or maybe afraid of being the bad guy, you know? And that's a tactic that I'm not proud of. I've used into my 30s. As recent as this year, I had a girl that I knew I was leaving. I had a green card. We started dating. She moved in with me for a couple months because she was like in between places. I should have ended it because I knew I was on my way out. Like I had a ticket that said I'm gone. Literally, it's in print. And I created this illusion that, you know, I'm going to come back and then I'll stay with you and whatever. Not taking into consideration that maybe I might like it a lot there and not want to come back. And I didn't confront it. I should have been the bad guy. But instead I let time erode and let her make a decision. Which
is ultimately worse.
Ultimately worse.
Yeah.
But in my mind, logistically, it's like, hey, I didn't do it, man. It was time that did it.
Right.
It's not me. It was 2,000 miles that did it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something I've been working on. You know, you look at me, you think of me like as a positive guy. You know, he's always around. He looks like he's willed himself to do whatever he wants. He's got a smile. Will shake my hand right. He's fun to joke around with. There's always something. For me, it's that confrontation, especially with a woman, and I used that with my dad. I didn't stay there because I didn't want to cry at my mom. It's cowardly, dude. And I took right back to LA, and I acted as if it didn't happen, dude. I was like, ugh. Okay, got a show Wednesday, got a show Thursday. I hang on the weekend, and then I show Monday, 2 shows Thursday, Friday, and then next week I fly out to Edmonton. I went to Edmonton, then I went to Calgary, then I had shows in Vancouver, and then landed in April, faced it. Had no choice. I stayed in Toronto for 2 months because that's how I planned it before my dad died.
Mm-hmm.
I could have easily have stayed, and no, every booker in Los Angeles have been like, no problem, dude. We'll see you again when you come back. They're just shows. They weren't booked for money.
Right.
But I leaned on that. I was like, no, I got to come back. So, yeah, man, I dealing with it was very tough.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine. I can't even
but
process that.
In a weird way, it's helped my career because, yeah, like a little more fearless, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to regret anything. I don't want to. I have this new phrase for me that I have now that I've sort of made it in terms of a comedic version of an old phrase. For me, it's like the most important show I'm doing. Most important show for me is the one I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like kind of like that phrase. I think it goes like the most important day is the one you're living or something like that. There's nothing more important than the show I'm doing. And I'm going to have fun, smile, give it my all, do my thing. Whether I'm in an empty show and comedy bar or I'm in a full house. I used to be the opposite. I used to be like, I'll just fuck around. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I don't try new stuff or, you know, whatever. But the end game is fun. I will not have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because, dude, I get by car tomorrow. I don't want my last show to be me hating it.
Yeah, exactly. You do have to remind yourself of that and force yourself to enjoy it. What's next for you, man?
Next, I doing shows in TO.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Montreal this weekend. Play the Yuck Yucks in Montreal, which is gonna be fun. I'm gonna try do all the new stuff I do in LA and have fun with it. And I'm at a point in my career in Toronto and Canada where like I don't need to prove to anyone that I'm funny. I just need to have fun.
Right.
It's for me now, not for anybody else. And then I come back and I'll be in TO for I think I got shows in Toronto. You can always check me on Twitter and Facebook and
Which is
at Eddie Della Siepe, 2 L's, 1 P. I'll be at the Rivoli on the 22nd, and then I'll be at the Toronto Yuck Yucks on New Year's, and I fly out January 1st, and then I'll be in LA until the end of March, and then I'll be doing like a tour in Vancouver with some friends out of Van. Jared Borland and Kyle Jones will be doing a little tour in the interior of British Columbia. And that's why I do. I go back to Canada every 2-3 months and remind myself that I'm somebody and have a good time.
living it, doing it.
Living it, doing it. And it's been, I said to myself, 2014 is going to be great in every way but personal.
Mm-hmm.
Me and a girl broke up. I lost all my friends, not obviously just because I moved. So there's a lot of lonely nights, a lot of moments where like being truly alone. You feel like you lost a parent, you lost a girl, and all your friends are away. And you have this moment where like you say to yourself, man, I don't, and you get through it and you feel so strong, dude. And I'm glad I went through it in a different country. I think about that. It compounds it. Like, man, this is not my land. These aren't my people. I'm not one of them. Although I don't like to say one of them, but like, you know what I mean? My friends aren't around. It's just me. Just me and my act. That's all I got. And I feel like my dad, when he came to Toronto, all he's got is his hands he works with and himself. And I'm shaping, I'm creating a life there that's great. And I feel like what I want to get is going to happen within the next year or so. And just hopefully, it'd be cool to be that guy from Canada that got on that show or is doing well. And,
just be cool with it, man.
That's it, dude.
So you do you.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for stopping by.
A lot of fun. This became a therapy session, kind of.
Hey, this is what we do.
Cool, dude.
Anyway, thanks for doing it, and watch your head.
I will.
And there it is, episode 25 in the books, thanks to Eddie Della Siepe, my guest. That was him, in the flesh. And thanks to my producer, Adam Fox, and my sound engineer, Miles Lacroix, and always you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the love. All right, come to Say What next Wednesday, December 17th, for the 2-year anniversary of the Julian Dion Comedy Hour live show, and also Moncton, Coming Inside of You. Next Friday, December 19th, an evening of comedy with Jen Grant and Julian Dion. That's right, twofer, doubleheader. It's going to be a good one. Empress Theater. Get your tickets at capital.nb.ca. And that is that. Mom, I love you. Happy holidays to everybody. And watch your head.
It's just a waste of time.
Catch up for 2 years.
Yeah.
Want some?
I'm good, thanks.
And a water? Look at that, huh?
It's good.
Guy's legit.
I heard rumors about this studio.
Too legit to quit. Hi.
Your hey is really good. It always has been. Hi.
Hi.
Are you going to walk in Charles party?
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's gonna. When is it?
Tuesday.
Yeah, there. I am there. Damn. Welcome back to the Jack Off Hour. This is DJ Easy Dick.
Hour?
Remember that Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, the beginning of a track.
The Jack Off Hour?
Welcome back to the Jack Off Hour. This is DJ Easy Dick. And then the tune started.
I don't remember that.
Son of a bitch.
I should though.